Hey everybody. Um, my name's Nick. I'm the owner of R&R Cultivation. I started growing mushrooms in my basement about 3 years ago in a 3 foot by 3 foot tent, and yeah, now today we took over a mushroom facility here in New Hope, and went from growing about 5 pounds of mushrooms. I remember my first farmers market, St. Paul Farmers Market, right? I put in a whole bunch of blocks I had bought, and I got like 9 pounds of oysters and brought them to market, and now it's like I look at the harvest log for today, and we harvested 1,500 pounds of mushrooms today. So it's crazy. We have an amazing team. I think I saw Jen Morgan on here, one of our awesome employees. So hey Jed. So yeah, I'm happy to show you guys around here. I like, hopefully this will be engaging for you guys. You can kind of understand the process we'll go through. I like to start all the way back at the bag, so maybe we can walk. I can talk a little bit as we're walking, but we can walk back to the mixing and bagging area. So and don't worry, we'll do a turnaround camera so you guys can kind of see this whole place. But looking down behind me, behind Kathy, so all of these, as soon as you walk in, you have these huge grow rooms. They're about 10 feet by 22 feet wide, and we have 20 of them. So the total capacity for this facility is about maxed out about 10,000 pounds a week that we could grow out of this facility. So when we got it, it was used to grow mushrooms very differently. They used a cold pasteurization process using lime, and we switched around, decided to use this crazy awesome machine that I'll show you now. Let me see if I can. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna give it to Kathy. All right, you got me. So, and if you want, we can get a little closer, whatever's going to frame it nicely here. But so this is the beginning of the process, right? So we use pre-made super sacks full of. So these are grain super sacks. So we use, and come over here. So we use organic sorghum, and this is what makes up our grain spawn. So this is what the mycelium originally jumps off to before it's put inside of the blocks. Over here, we have two different types of pellets that we mainly use. This might be open, might not be. I can grab some. All right. So they're wood pellets that have a very specific mixture to them. So some of them are a master mix, which you are probably very accustomed to. It's like either a 50-50 or a 60-40 blend of hardwood and soy. And then there's more of like a shiitake mix, or we grow our maitake on it as well. But that's a mainly hardwood with a wheat mid additive in there. So each species even really needs its own very, very specific recipe to grow on, but there are general ways that you can cultivate that still produce good results. So we're still in that general stage. We'd love to hone it in, but for now, growing how much that we do, we got to keep it simple. So all right, so what we do is we have this forklift here. Okay, we grab up one of these super sacks that's underneath there, and it's called a feld bag, or a feld valve. So it's a knife valve. We actually take and we suspend it up and over this ribbon mixer. So this thing is sitting on a giant scale, right? So we take and we suspend the super sack, and we open it up, and we drop the pellets in until we reach a certain pounds. Then over on this side, there's a whole computer system set up where we type in a recipe and push a button, and then it automatically puts water in, hydrates the pellets to a very, very specific amount. And then this is a volumetric dispenser. So we push a foot pedal on the other side, and it pushes the shuttle back, takes a whole bunch or a very specific amount, and then pulls it forward, and it drops it into a bag. Now those bags, watch your step on this cord here. So each layer is separated by a rack to give some proper aeration and spacing in between. It's not much because we're really pushing the limit, but we can fit 8 of these bad boys inside of this unholy mammoth of a pressure cooker. So this is a 25-foot autoclave. We cook the blocks at about 13 psi, and it gets up to about 240 degrees in there for about 3 hours. So so this, you can see it kind of ends. You can't see the other side of the autoclave here because it goes into the lab. Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna open it because I can smell it.
It is. There's something that's already been cooked, but we'll walk around and we'll peek inside of the room. Actually, on our way through, let's do a peek in the rooms here. So this is the chestnut room. So not a whole lot going in here, but this is how almost every room is set up. We'll go through a few rooms that will have a little bit more growth inside of them here. All right, so let's come in here. This is a more exciting chestnut room. So that's the bad thing about this place is it's like a bomb shelter. No, I think it lost. All right, we won't go in the rooms again, but we'll keep peeking in them. Yeah, so let's keep winding our way around, and I can kind of show you colonization space. So after they go through the autoclave and we introduce the grain spawn and they seal the bag, they have to sit on a rolling rack. Everything in this entire place is on a rolling rack. As soon as we put something in a stationary place, we instantly regret it. So everything rolls here. And depending on the species, it sits on a rack for between 2 and 14 weeks. So a species like oysters that are really fast moving and just run really quickly, those just take less time. Actually, we can probably look in here. And so once a block is fully colonized, then it's ready to go in the room. So these are going to be black pearls someday. So it's pretty cool. You can see the Hy-Vee on top there. So it's kind of fun. So here on the farm, we grow eight different species on a large scale. It's like lion's mane, blue oysters, and shiitakes. And we grow 4 in an R&D. We're still have to bring it in and prove it out and understand how to grow it. So that's the difference between growing as a small grower and really trying to maximize what you're doing, and at a commercial level where it's really about the space that it takes up and how many flushes you can get off of it and how much of a yield you can actually get out of the block. Yeah, very, very different process. Last place I'll take you, we'll go up top. We'll show you our wholesale room where we package everything up. And oops, I may have to run to the other side and turn on some lights. You have to bear with me here. Kathy, you can do a beautiful spin of our garage. Ooh. All right, hang on one second. So this is a fun colonization space. So over here we have our walk-in cooler, and we arrange everything in pods. So these are all based off of weeks and colonization times for everything. So this is actually maitake. We have just taken so much painful time learning how to properly cultivate maitake. But you can see inside of there, maybe a little bit, right? All the brains starting to form. That is going to be a nice pinning block of maitake, right? And maitake, by the way, it's my favorite. Don't tell the other mushrooms, but it's my favorite. So yeah, as you can see, everything in here, rolling racks. We have temperature controls up here. So we just actually installed these mini splits to make sure that we keep it a really good, cool temperature in here to limit contamination and to really promote mycelial growth. So, and then all the space back here, these are shiitakes are incredibly fun. We actually switched over from, you can see with my hand on there how big these blocks are. So these are large blocks. We switched shiitakes over to smaller blocks because we have the highest demand, of course, for shiitakes. They're the most pervasive in the market. And of course, they take the longest to colonize, so they take up the most space. But my harvesters, we would put an entire room of these things in, and imagine holding a 10-pound block and harvesting off all these shiitakes, and then repeat that like 600 times for all the blocks that are in the room. So obviously, wrists were getting tired. Exactly, right? They were getting biceps of steel, but we wanted to make things better for our employees. So we switched over to 5-pound blocks, and they're awesome. Just really easy to handle. And they colonize faster, which is nice. So they take up a little bit less space. So, and the last place maybe we can go. So this is our wholesale room. It's a little echoey, but this is where we churn out about 5,000 packages a week, going to a whole bunch of different places. So we're in all the local co-ops and Lunds Byerlys and Kowalski's, and it's been fun. We've been growing a lot. So yeah, yep, our mountain of labels. So something that we're really proud of, and that I'm glad that we started using, we use all compostable sugarcane trays. And we have compostable labels that go on top. And I just met with someone today to get compostable film for the top that adheres well. We've tried out a lot of different ones, but we haven't found any. But one of our huge goals is to be the first mushroom company at scale to have compostable packaging. So that's just something that we're paying a lot for, but it just makes a lot of sense. We always think that we have a lot of responsibility putting out 5,000 of these things a week, that, hey, at least it's not doing irreparable harm to the environment. So that's something we're happy about. This cool piece of equipment, though, is really what makes it all happen. So this is our tray sealer. So there's actually a piece on there right now as I take it off. Okay. So that's what adheres. So we put, the nice thing about the packages that we chose is that they all have the same facing. They all have the same footprint. So we don't have to buy multiple of these things. They're like 10 grand a piece. It's ridiculous. So, so you put the packages in here, you slide it in, it drops down, cuts it, seals it on top, and it comes out, and then you have a nice package at the end. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I think that's enough of me talking. I think maybe opening it up to people and questions.
Okay, Nick, there were a couple of questions that came through the chat, and I'm going to actually share them. I got one from Ron Spinoza.
Ron Spinoza, writing from Minnesota, asks,
he wants to know, what are the conditions for maitake to fruit? So
what are the conditions for maitake to fruit?
Yes.
Yeah, all my secrets. He's going to have to come and work here to find out all the details. No, it was trial and error, and it's learning from people who are much smarter than I am. So it's really, everything in mushrooms is just really about timing and temperature control are really the two biggest things. The plenum, or the upper part of the bag that's inside of there, it just creates a really high environment of CO2. So with a lot of these top and maitake, king trumpets, beeches, anything that we really top fruit, we always let a massive amount of pin sets form on top first. So when we looked at the maitake before, and we saw that huge, beautiful pin sets just going across the entire top of that, we'll get probably 3 to 4 pounds of maitake out of that fruiting. So what I found is, and it's especially true with like maitake and chestnuts and a lot of the longer species, is the longer you wait for them to really explode out of the bag, the better yields and the better kind of fruits that you get. But yeah, it's basically the same concept for most of them. I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's the way that we open up, let's say like blue oysters. We make an eye cut, right? So 2 cuts at the top and then 1 connecting it. so that it creates a pocket of CO2 for the pin sets to grow in that collects a lot of heavy moisture, right? So when you're looking for pin sets, you want 95 to 100% humidity and high levels of CO2. Like the pin sets are trying to fight their way out of the ground or out of the bark or whatever that looks like. And then once it hits the air, that's when you want to actually lower the humidity to 85 to 90%. And then you want the ppms, the parts per million, to drop down to as low as possible. So 500-600 ppms is what we have it at.
Oh, okay. So the questions are really pouring in pretty well.
Good.
I did have one question.
Rapid fire.
I have a quick question though, and it has to do with chestnuts. And I sort of breached this one with you as we were picking up a block of chestnuts for the state fair. But what we're familiar with is the term chestnut. We're talking about chestnut boletes.
Yes.
So you're talking about a chestnut that is a guild mushroom. What genus is that?
Excellent question. I have no idea. I don't know the exact strain name of it. So I'm not sure.
Are they a foliota
on that one?
They're a foliota.
Yes, they are.
Okay,
yes.
That's okay.
Yep.
That's what our guess was. And okay, there you go. And actually, Jen Morgan just bailed you out.
Excellent. Good. She does all the time, so it's no surprise. So
Foliota adiposa.
There we go.
Yeah. And so did Randy Strobel. So that was good. Okay.
See,
so
you guys know more about mushrooms than I do. I'm just
yeah. Okay. But you're still on the hook here. We've got, a couple of other questions. Does light affect pinning or fruiting of mushrooms? Will all your mushrooms pin and fruit without light?
Yes, so they do pin and fruit without light. They pin very much more aggressively with light. So there are some species that we actually don't want to expose to light because it'll incur that heavy pinning before it happens. There's other things though that are also impactful with that. So movement. If I take a rack of shiitakes and roll it around in a circle, the whole rack will start to pin. So movement, we also, before we put them inside of the rooms, we usually cold shock all of the blocks to bring down the temperature. And then we put it in prime conditions to be like, okay, it's getting a little cold. You better, if I put you in these prime conditions, you better fruit. So, so light does play. There's a lot of information out there about how important light is. We have found that while light is important, but for my talkies, there's a lot of talk of blue spectrum, right? It's like blue spectrum will really make them pin hard, and you want green spectrum or whatever it is. I don't. We just that's like a finishing touch on everything. If you have all of the basics down, that gets you 95% of the way there. The rest of it is just a little bit of fine tuning. Matters when you're really dealing with us trying to really maximize yields. But last thing we'll say on that, I have test bags that we're actually going to be trying out, and they're black. So instead of clear, they're completely black all the way around. And that is to let the mycelium run, but then as soon as you open it, it takes the energy and it pushes all of the energy towards that opening. It's said that it increases yields. I've heard anywhere between 20 and 30%. So it really takes the energy in the block and just pushes it all in one direction. So.
Okay, I got another quick question in this. What is the best mushroom to grow on $100 budget for beginners? So basically it's, if somebody was going to try to start, so what did you start with, for instance? You started with oysters, I think, right?
Yeah, oysters are so easy. I shouldn't say so easy. They're difficult to master, easy to grow. How about that? But oysters are a very forgiving species to start out with because it runs so quickly. You can make a lot of mistakes on your plates, in your grain spawn, in whatever it might be. If you're trying, usually oysters are where everyone starts out at because they're just more forgiving.
There's another that's a great question. I wish I had asked this. That would have sounded kind of smart. Do you notice differences in how well different mushrooms flush across different seasons, even with your internal environmental controls? Do you notice seasonal effects, even though with your environmental controls?
Only if my environmental controls fail.
Okay.
Which happens. No, not normally. So if you're able to properly control the environment, which really is the key all the way through the process to making a healthy mushroom block, which will produce a high yield of fruiting bodies, no, we don't see any difference. If it goes up, it goes up. If it goes down, it goes down. And sometimes there's just no rhyme or reason that we can land on. But no, we don't see any cyclical, seasonal differences in that. So,
and a great question a lot of us probably have. What is the process to get multiple fruitings from a bag?
So if you at a very basic level, you harvest everything off, and then you want to get as much organic matter off of the top as you possibly can. So to do a proper second flush, you'd want to rock the oysters off, and then if there's any mycelium that's still kind of coming up and out where you didn't get it all the way off, you can go and scrape that off. What you're always going to be battling is blotch, right? So trying to just be aware that, hey, things are going to go after organic, living material. The mycelium really has, once you've opened the block, it really has the nutrients locked down. If it ran completely through the block, there's really not a whole lot else that can land on there and take over the nutrients because it's got it locked in. So, yeah. So I mean, if you guys, and we do sell blocks too, but if you get one of our larger blocks, I mean, you could get like 6 flushes off of that. So the problem for us is on an oyster block, we'll get like 3 pounds off the first flush, and then we'll get like 1.5 pounds off the second, and 3/4 off the third, and so on until it's like a giant battery. And once it's depleted, then it's kind of gone. So we don't do it past those flushes. And then of course the chances for bacterial blotch to come in are higher. So just keeping it clean and trying to clean the organic material off.
Another question is,
I think Mary, I was told to call on Mary.
Oh yeah. Okay. Go.
Hey, so Nick, I just got this grow kit from you guys like last
Hey-o.
And I have it on my kitchen counter. Somebody told me lion's mane was great to grow on the kitchen counter. And look at it, it's doing amazing. And I just want to share it with the members. Like, I have never grown mushrooms before, and I've eaten plenty of them, and I'm really excited about this. And somebody asked about to start growing for $100, and this was $25. It's an amazing product that you are offering, even aside from just the buy and eat mushrooms that you sell. So for the beginner cultivars that are on the call, you didn't talk much about your mushroom blocks. I heard you just mention them recently, and maybe, I don't know if you don't want to sell a lot of them, but it's a great place to start. And I really am excited about this. My neighbor's going to order one from you. And once this is gone, I will definitely be getting more.
Well, thank you so much. I promise I didn't pay her to say any of that.
No,
I'm here to answer your questions and to inform, and I'm happy, of course, to that of course, buying our blocks is the easiest way to go and get started, because we've done all of the hard work, and you get to put on your counter and open it up and get these beautiful clusters of mushrooms that come out. So thank you. I appreciate that. Sometimes I don't plug myself on stuff like this when I should be. So thank you.
Well, I mean, that's I just think that you really offer quality products. I've bought your mushrooms before, and now I'm even more impressed with this. And yeah, I don't want to be mixing and sterilizing dirt and all that at this point. I'm a beginner, but this is a great place to start. Thank you.
So there is a question that's more along a more technical thing, which would be, we didn't see any part of the inoculation process. What can you tell us about that?
And I stayed clear of that because we have, so what we do, so after we put the blocks inside of those metal gaylords and they go inside there. So overnight, we actually open up the clean side of the autoclave and we push air down the tube to help bring them down. And then we do a warmish unload in the morning before inoculation starts. So I try to keep the area just super clean, and because it's literally pushing air past the blocks, so I didn't want to go in there. But the inoculation room has gone through a lot of changes. We have kind of a circular or a U-shaped format to our inoculation. So the blocks are loaded on one side of the U. They get pushed forward, and then we have just two flow hoods in that just spray HEPA air, obviously. So we're in a clean 100 room too. That's another good thing to say. That's the cool thing about this facility. Lots of very challenging things, but it was put together in a way that it's nice. We have a fully functional lab, so we do all of our own lab work. So we make all of our own Petri dishes and agar, and we use liquid culture to inoculate grain. And then that goes into there. So anyway, so the blocks come off and we make sure they're at temp before we start. They get inoculated and then put on the band sealer, and then we shake them and put them on the racks that you see around here. But it's a pretty crazy process. It's 4 people working at like top speed, crushing out like 200 blocks an hour. So it's an intense process.
So one of the other questions is, and I think you may have at least answered it partially, but I'm not sure. How do you fight trichoderma molds or the green molds for secondary flushes? I know you mentioned scraping off all the extra organic matter that still remains after you harvest. Is that your primary control for green mold?
If you see green mold, it's already too late. Right, you gotta take the block, take it behind the shed, and break it up and compost it properly. But that's just once you see the green, it just if you can see the spores, they're already everywhere. And so if anything does sprout up on there, it's going to be really hard. On a very micro level, if you wanted to, you could use hydrogen peroxide. Or you could just take a Bunsen, like a burner, some sort of a flame, and like literally burn it off, and then you might get a chance at a second or third flush. But now that it's already been shamelessly mentioned, you should just buy another block from us and start over and chalk it up to experience. So
how do you prevent it in the first place?
You prevent it by having a really, really clean process. So trichoderma it's used at a commercial level to actually fight fungus, right? It's so good at competing with it, and it's very, very aggressive. It is a thermophile though, which is very interesting. So that's why we keep everything cool, because mycelium can still run and thrive in cool temperatures. Once you get things too warm, past like 70, 80 degrees, somewhere around there, 75, 80 degrees, that's when these thermophiles can wake up and do a little bit more damage as opposed to keeping things colder. So, so it really comes from having a clean process. You have to make sure that you have clean grain spawn. So trichoderma can present itself all the way through the process, including all the way through the inoculation process. And even on your clothes as you're inoculating, you have billions of spores that are carrying a whole bunch of stuff everywhere. So if you don't have a proper lab set up in a clean 100 room with flow hoods in front of you, it's just, you're gonna have a 50 to 75% contamination rate. Unless you're really using some proper sterile practices, it doesn't matter how hard you try and how much ISO you rub on your hands and how much mask you wear. You're going to be in full bunny garb, and it's in the air. It's just pervasive everywhere. So it's tough. Trichoderma is the #1 thing that we fight on the farm here. But because we've just been hammering down on our processes, our contamination rates are between 0.1 and 0.8%, which is extremely low for a farm. So So we're very proud of that, and it saves us a lot of money because we don't have to throw a whole bunch of blocks away. So.
And then what do you do with the used blocks? That was another question. You compost them, I'm sure.
We do. We actually have two 20-yard dumpsters sitting on the south side of the building. So 20-yard dumpsters they're about 20 feet long, about 5 feet tall, and about 10 feet wide, right? Like they're enormous. And we have two of them, and we usually go through one a week. So here at this facility, we process about 1,500 blocks to 2,000 blocks a week inside of just this facility. So they get removed from the bag, and then they get sent in there. And then we actually have a relationship with Minnesota Topsoil. So we actually have our guys bring it out there, tip it, and then bring the dumpster back again. And so he's taking that compost, and we're trying to break it down even further so that we can, people can stop by there and grab this like incredible compost that's already been broken down for you. So we do our best to put it to good use, but it's expensive in an urban farm to get rid of this stuff. Every single time that we do a delivery, it costs us $300 to tip it, and we do that once or twice a week. So it's expensive to get rid of it, right? But it makes us happy, so we'll do that.
You actually sell the blocks then out of your facility, or you just do that online?
No, you can stop in. We don't. We're not really set up for a lot of on-site sales yet because we're still getting our feet underneath us here. But yeah, you can get them online. We offer free local delivery, or you can stop in the facility. You guys are getting an exclusive tour here. We don't do tours yet, but if you do stop in, we don't turn anyone away. We just don't advertise it. But yeah, if you stop in, we'll definitely sell you a block.
Great. Let's see.
What other fun questions are there?
I think. Well, I'm
or
looking
not
through
fun
the
questions.
chat, making sure that there was a lot in the chat of various individuals who actually have some experience with cultivating themselves, and they're sharing information with others just about, because one of them asked Mary if she actually had a grow hood, that kind of thing. No, but she just said she sprayed it daily. So
and it is
everybody
better.
wants her Hericium. So
Hericium? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We have, and man, our lion's mane bags, just like, I mean, they just, we get, that's probably the mushroom that we grow best here on the farm, which I love, because there's just so many fun things that you can do with lion's mane. So, yeah, that's a great kit to buy, and it's so exciting to watch it come out and watch, like, out of this block, you almost get like an equal sized mushroom that sits on top of this thing. It looks like if you just make one slit, you'll get like one huge looking like giant puffball. When we do ours, we do 3 slits in it because we want something that fits in packaging a little bit better, but it's like the entire face of it, it's like that big and like that high coming off of the top. It's an incredible mushroom. So.
Well, there was a question about dumpster divers, picking your used blocks from your dumpster.
Yeah, absolutely. Come by. One man's trash, right? No, anyone can stop by at any time. Anytime I see someone diving into the dumpster, it's no problem here. Okay. All dumpster divers are welcome. So as long as you're taking stuff out and not putting stuff in, I think that's a key thing. So
then there's a question about, are you going to expand by growing Agaricus subrufescens?
Good God, no. No, we're probably, that's not something we're interested in. It's a totally different process. It requires more, it's a manure based, obviously, yes. Instead.
Right.
Yes. We have an amazing local farm that we work with in Wisconsin that we actually get all of our agaricus through. So if you look at our packaging on the lower side of it, it actually says locally grown in Minnesota, or it says locally sourced in Wisconsin. So we try and be very transparent about where your food is coming from, but it's an awesome organic little local farm in Wisconsin. that we give as much business as we possibly can to and try and support local. So, but no, I have no plans on opening an agaricus farm. This place is going to keep me busy for years. So.
Excellent. Wonderful.
And I was going to say for any, it seems obviously there are lots of people who are kind of coming up and local, just trying to do, maybe you do want to try inoculation, you have a sterilization, maybe you have a, you know, whatever. If you want to pick up pellets, if you want to pick up bags, if you want to pick up grain spawn, these are things that we always have on site here. So you can always reach out to orders at R&R Cultivation and just ask what we have. And if there's enough of a demand, I'll put on the website too. For local pickup or delivery or whatever it might be. But yeah, we always have lots of organic grain spawn and a whole bunch of cool accessories if you really want to get into it and grab a pressure cooker and go to town. Anything else cool that I can answer or not cool?
Yeah, my wife has a question. Let's see.
Oh, okay.
Here you go.
Say, Nick, when we had information from you at the state fair, one of the things said that people could join and get mushrooms delivered. So can you explain a little bit more about that? Would that be the same mushroom every week or a variety of mushrooms? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's our, so we are a CSA, we call it a CSA. It's really a mushroom subscription because we grow year round. So on the website, you can sign up for a pound and a half, or 2 pounds of mushrooms to be delivered every 1 week, 2 weeks, or 4 weeks. So it's an amazing program for us because we always give out 3 different kinds of mushrooms every time. We try to make it different every single time so that you're experiencing whatever we have a bounty of on the farm. So it works really well for us because you're getting what we have an overage of, still very prime stuff, but you get to experience something new every single week. Because we do so much direct delivery to all of our partners, we can offer free delivery on our CSAs too. So I think it's great. It really helps spread the mushroom love and access to some fun mushrooms that you might not know about. And then on our blog section, we have a whole bunch of recipes on how to use them, how to dress them up, and really have some fun cooking them.
Hey, Nick, I just wanted to say that I'm speaking of the CSA or the subscriptions. I know somebody that gets the ugly mushrooms, and I think she said that they were okay, like they were a little past their prime, but they were good. And but I think it's really awesome. I read the statement on your website, and it says that you want to make them accessible to everybody. So I just wanted to express my appreciation for that too. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I think they're fun. You know, when I started this like 3.5 years ago here, like I didn't even like mushrooms that much. I know, right? But I didn't. I didn't not like them, but they just weren't like the first thing I would go for. Now, of course, they're in like everything I eat, and I love them. But I just had so much fun, and that's why we grow so many different kinds. That's why we're not just an oyster farm. Oysters are wonderful, but you know, we wanted people to experience a whole variety of tastes and textures and smells, and really give them something to be excited about. And I think that's why we've had so much success with our grocery partners, because we've in a category that I've heard over and over again has been stagnant with nothing really new being added to it. We're just giving life back into the category, and people are starting to have fun with it, and that makes me happy too. That's why people always ask me why I started this thing. I'm like, I wanted to do something that added value back to the community, and tried education, you know, on the business side, and landed on agriculture. And I'm like, this is perfect. And so just feeding that mission of always having a variety and always making it exciting and fun for people that's why we do it. So that's wonderful. Thank you. It's nice to hear. So Black Morel. Ooh. Kathy's saying Black Morel Cultivation. Someone asked about that. Yeah. So Morel Cultivation, there's a Dutch company that has cracked the code on morels. I am not mad science-y enough, and I think just keeping up with this place, the technology will become a little bit more pervasive, and we're pursuing more things like turkey tail and chicken of the woods, and there's just all of these amazing cultivators across the country that do all of this legwork and share the information. And I just know so many people that have helped us get a leg up and understand what took them years. They can explain to me in 10 minutes, and I get to take a nice shortcut and end up with beautiful looking maitake, right? But it's so eventually morels will come down, but for now I usually take the stance of I love the scarcity of morels, because I think it drives even more excitement into mushrooms as a whole. It keeps everyone excited when it's seasonal, when it's not going to be there year round. So I mean, that being said, if I knew how, I would definitely grow them because they are delicious, but it's just it's still a trade secret that's not widely known yet. Anything else rolling in?
There is one more. Let's see. Do you sell sterilized grain bags with inoculation patches?
I do. Yep, I can. Yep, I sell if there's enough of a demand for anything. So we're looking at a whole bunch of kind of value add products for us like that. So it's we're actually thinking of yeah, you can do a whole bunch of different levels. They actually make grow kits where I could put the substrate on the bottom and then the grain on top. So it's like an all-in-one bag too. So if there's enough of demand for that, we can make those. So basically you put a layer of grain spawn on top, and then you have the substrate underneath. It's all in one sterilized bag. You have the injection port up top. It colonizes the grain spawn, and then you shake up the bag and it colonizes the substrate underneath it. So but we're just looking for what people are going to bring people happiness. So if there's enough of a demand for it, then I'll make them. But yeah, out of the gate, definitely we have sterile grain, I think, sitting back in our warehouse right now that we could slap an injection port on. So yeah, I guess the fun part about mycology is you can really, like, when I started growing, I was buying bags from Mississippi Mushrooms, God rest their souls. So, but Ian was awesome, and he's the one who really kind of launched me into being able to get where I was, because I bought blocks from him, fruited them, and took them to markets. And then I backed my way into sterilizing my own blocks and then letting them colonize and putting them in. And I was, buying grain spawn still. And now I do lab work. I make my own grain spawn, sterilize my own, we get to do things all the way from start to finish. So, so you can really pick this up, or like, I forget her name already, but was it Mary? Yes. So like Mary too, if you just want to just enjoy the growing of mushrooms, you can just buy a block, cut it open yourself, and so you can enjoy mycology on whatever level you want to engage at. There are people who just love the lab work and they love the Petri transfers, and it's so fun for them. A lot of people are like, I just want to grow some mushrooms and eat them. So, but happy to help you guys out on whatever stage you're coming in at.
Well, I'll eventually do the lab work, I think. This is just the beginning. Thank you.
This is just the beginning. I like that. Okay.
Let's see. Okay,
what do I think about growing in buckets?
Yes.
I think buckets are amazing, to be honest with you. One of the banes of my existence, and actually someone I met with today, they're researching how to make compostable bags that these go in. But that is the last bane of my existence, are the plastic bags that are being used. Doing it at scale is really difficult, because when you do it on a small scale, it's fine because you can rinse your buckets and it takes you a little bit. But unless you have a commercial dishwasher or something that's doing that for you, looking at the amount that we would do is just insane. The only thing that's limiting about buckets is the types of mushrooms that you can grow inside of buckets will vary. Like, it'd be very hard to grow like chestnuts out of buckets or beeches out of buckets. I like being able to control the size and the quantities that I can get off of each one. So, so from a green standpoint, awesome. From home sterilization, I think doing straw with a lime pasteurization in buckets and growing oysters, phenomenal. I think that's a good way to go. And if I could grow in buckets at scale, I would.
There was also a question, do all of your mushrooms require cooking?
Technically, all mushrooms do require cook. Well, I mean, none of them do. I mean, you can eat bark if you want to, right? You don't have to cook it, but it does make it more enjoyable. Your body really can't process a lot of. I'm blanking. Yes, the chitin, right? So it's exactly. So it's really your body can't process it anyway. So you'll get more nutritionally out of it if you do that. But pro tip: if you're really trying to see what a mushroom tastes like, I found that eating it raw and breathing out through your nose really lets you kind of understand, because people ask me like, what does this taste like? What does that taste like? And I always give them a tiny piece of raw mushroom, have them bite it, chew it, and you get to kind of experience the taste on a very heightened level without anything else added into it. So I eat it like that for like a taste test, but I always cook all my mushrooms.
I think we got pretty well caught up.
Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys for everything. And by the way, we will be supporting the silent auction. I hope everyone here does too. It's phenomenal, and we love supporting the club. And think you guys are doing some great things on the forage side too. So yeah, love being a part of what you guys do. So hopefully everybody has something to contribute to the silent auction. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, our website is rrcultivation.com. Any direct orders or any questions like that, you can reach out to orders@rrcultivation.com, and we'll get you taken care of.
And you answered this once before, but it was a question about tours, and you are not set up for tours yet. However, if somebody does stop by, you're willing to kind of show things off a little.
I'm willing to sell things. So we really, during the day, it's such a huge bustle.
Right.
So right now we have 15 full-time employees and then another 10 part-time employees that are working on the farm. So this place, like, I think it actually might be a safety hazard to walk around here during the day. You're probably going to get run over by a cart, or a bin of mushrooms might get thrown at you because you're in the way. So so we're not doing tours yet, but we're hoping to set something up on like Saturdays or Sundays and start doing like tour groups coming in then. Yeah, now I feel like we've got our stuff together enough where I wouldn't mind showing this place off a little bit.
It's completely endless. It's like more grow bags than you could even, like, just how deep they are.
So there's probably around 2,000 bucks up in the space right now, and this is just one of our colonization spaces. So we have two more. We're actually putting insulated trailers off of the back end of this building because we ran out of colonization space. So yeah, so it's literally busting at the seams here. So yeah, all right, y'all. I'm gonna log off. Thank you so much for having me, and we'll see you next time, and hopefully we'll have a whole bunch of cool improvements and upgrades to show you guys. But stop by anytime.
Thank you so very much for everything you've done for us. So
you bet. Absolutely.
Yep.
Talk soon.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Nick. This was fascinating. It's fun to be here. I want to thank them for being so generous to our club with their products and their information.